Well, that was suitably anime. Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Shatterhand. I just really like the way that music starts. And starting off the game, we actually only have one action with our main character here. He can punch and jump. Well, that's only two actions, but you get what I mean. There's a couple different animations for your punches. I don't think they really vary in strength, but the main thing you want to do is destroy the little boxes you find all over the place. Within them are letter panels, either an alpha or a beta. And you might notice we have two of them right now. If you get three of them of any kind, in any order, you get a various little robot to help yourself out. I'll talk about that when we get our third one. In fact, I believe that's right. No, that's a grenade. Boxes can contain not only the letter panels, but they can also contain coins, be they big, small, or bags just to punch over and over again to get more coins out of them. Those are points. As well as grenades to just try and damage you and say, screw you. Upon collecting your third letter panel, a little robot shows up. In this case, getting 3 betas gives me my favorite robot personally, the mine thrower, or grenade thrower. Whenever you attack, so does whatever robot you're using, with one exception of sorts. The grenade thrower just throws a grenade at a pretty good angle, and it'll explode upon either hitting an enemy or any wall or floor. I believe it does more than one hit if they're directly in the center of the damage, so you want to watch out, use that to your advantage, rather. We saw a glowing platform there a moment ago. That is another thing this game has. Located throughout the game stages are various platforms with various symbols on them and various numbers on them. Those indicate what they are and how much those things cost with your points. For instance, that last one we passed had a red cross on it. That's because it's a health platform and it takes 300 points to use. That's your only way of restoring health in the game, by the way, barring death. There's also extra life platforms indicated by an EX, which cost 2,000 points, so those generally don't show up until the latter third of the game, in my experience. As well as P platforms, which are one of the more useful ones. Well, it's kind of hard to be one of the more useful ones when there's only 3 of them in the game, but you get what I mean. And those power up your punches. However, you're going to notice I tend not to use those so much because I prefer to attack using my robot. But as you can see, the robot's now flashing. That's because robots actually have their own health bar. Once they start flashing, they're low on health, and if they take enough damage, they get destroyed. However, if you collect the same combination of panels after having a robot with you, you get this awesome armor. While you have this armor on, you are completely invincible, allowing this boss to go by really quickly. This boss likes to jump all over the place, clinging to the walls, firing either shots at the ceiling that will split down in 3 or 4 variations, or just outright smacking you with his gun. As you can see, that went down really quickly. The attack of the armor is also really powerful in its own right. However, the best part about it is the invincibility. You're not invincible forever, though. As you see, there's a timer on the top of the screen there. That's the time limit for the armor. The more you take damage, the faster the time limit is reduced. In a way, it's kind of similar to the shields from Star Fox in that regard, I suppose, even though the shields last forever as long as you don't get hit too much, but you get what I mean. And you get a score tally at the end of every stage. Not too useful, but okay. I'd rather have those points to spend, but alright. It's just a really kick-ass stage select theme. But yeah, similar to many other games on the system, we have a stage select, and the stages in this game don't really have any particular order to them, aside from area A through whatever, and I'm going in alphabetical order, but you can approach these in any order. There's no actual things that help you with the other stages within each one and such. There's no weakness chain with the bosses like there was in Mega Man, so on and so forth, so you don't need to worry too much. In terms of the other letter panels and the combinations you can get from them, we saw a triple beta, which was the mine thrower, my personal favorite. For getting 3 alphas, you get a kind of a plasma shot firing bot, which fires a close range plasma shot around you that I think reaches both directions near you. 2 alphas in a beta is a laser bot, which fires a diagonal stream of lasers in front of you, kind of like the Gemini laser from Mega Man 3. I think you can change the angle of that one depending on how much you've been moving, what direction of the D-pad you're holding. An alpha, a beta, and an alpha is my least favorite bot, the sword bot, which just is a very short-range sword attack. I think it's actually pretty powerful, but that range is pitiful. An alpha and 2 betas is the bounce bot, which fires shots that bounce whenever they hit a wall. In a way, it's kind of similar to the rebound striker from Mega Man 10, only it doesn't get more powerful the more you hit a wall with it. Also, this enemy is annoying if you don't have a robot, purely due to the fact that, as you saw there, it has a counterattack pattern that it's very easy to get into a lock with certain other robots. Next up is 3 betas, which we saw there. And then there's the 2 betas in alpha, which is the flamethrower bot, which is the rare robot that you need to actively be attacking for it to attack, because whenever you hold the attack button, it causes a flamethrower to shoot out. And that has its uses with avoiding projectiles, but it's a flamethrower in a video game, and those have a pretty bad track record. This is no real exception. A beta in 2 alphas is the boomerang bot, which fires shots that return to the bot rather. Unless you're moving, in which case I think they go straight forward, or they just fly around in total. I forget exactly. I don't use that one too much. In a way, it kind of reminds me of Power Blade, but to a lesser extent. And then finally, there is a beta in 2 alphas, which the robot in that one is another projectile-based one that fires shots with a relatively short range, but they quickly rise straight up to the ceiling, and then they'll travel along anything they touch at that point. Not too useful, honestly. Also, another mechanic in the game is that you can actually cling onto any fence-like backgrounds in the game. And you need to do that in order to get around certain platforming sections. Also, here's a random thing about the game. It takes forever for you to die, and I don't get why. Now, one more thing about the bots before I go into the names, because there's actually I just took a look in the manual and realized I forgot they all actually do have names. The robots can actually help you fly a little bit. If you press down, I think the A button, it'll slowly fly over to you and help you levitate a bit, but it's so situational that there's no real use to it unless you destroy a box that allows you to get to like a health platform or an extra life platform, something along those lines. Also, since I've almost entirely neglected to talk about the actual stages in the first 2 stages, the intro stage is pretty straightforward. Enemies don't take too much effort to take down. Because thankfully this is one of those games where you have that health, and that is the exact amount of health you have. Every enemy and damage point only does 1 point of damage to you. You thankfully have enough health to survive quite a bit going towards you. You still need to be careful though, because sometimes health restore points can be a bit few and far between, but overall, you don't have to worry too much. This stage though is a bit more precarious, given that we're constantly above a damage source, though. The lava is not instant kill, even though it killed me earlier. And that's also a cool thing. More or less every projectile in the game, your main character can actually punch to death, so that's pretty useful. And I will take that second beta because I need the mine bot. Grenade bot, rather. Because each of the robots does have names. There's the Yobo bot, the laser bot, the sword bot, the Rico bot, which is the ricochet one, the grenade bot, guess who that is, the pyro bot, the yo-yo bot again, because the manual accidentally lists one twice, and the bouncer bot. And this boss starts off pretty simple. Even though there's 2 of them, you can basically just target one of them, and you'll win the fight pretty easily at that point, given the grenade's damage. However, also I should probably mention, every single boss in this game is a seizure warning, because they flash the screen a lot. Later on in the fight, it becomes this dragon thing, at which point you have to attack every single one of the sections until it turns white. At that point, when you get enough of them down, I believe it just dies automatically. I believe the name of that boss was Ogoborgs? Yeah, because this was the refinery, I believe was the name of this stage. Whereas the first stage was the factory, and the boss of that was the Balzire. But yeah, stage 2, not too bad. None of the stages, only really one of the 5 stages we can select at this point is notably harder than the others. And in my eyes, that's the one in the center. The one on the bottom right can give me some shit too. But with that, now we're going to head on over to the stage on the top right, because that is the next one in alphabetical order. This is the submarine, I believe. And the start of the stage is actually probably the hardest part of it, because they just spam a lot of enemies towards you in a pretty close quarters situation. There's also these little water jets that will damage you if you get too close to them. And even though they fire in, I think, a pattern of 3 bursts then a break, you still need to be careful. Not much room to dodge around in these close quarters, so you do, again, want to be very, very careful. But with that, what do you say we finally go over the story for the game? Because that intro was kind of straightforward. It didn't really say anything, didn't it? Introduction. In the year 2030, medical technology develops to a point where missing limbs can be replaced with cybernetic devices that replicate human movement and form with great precision. Working on a top-secret military project, a large group of scientists create military uses for these new cybernetic limbs. Within that group of scientists, a handful of subversives unite, rather. With world domination as their goal, these subversives collaborate covertly to create an army of cyborg soldiers. General Gus Grover emerges as the leader of the group, and after plans are carefully made, and an awesome assembly of cyborgs stands at the ready, the group begins to revolt. They become known as the Metal Command, or villains. To combat the revolutionary moment, the Law and Order Regulatory Division is formed. LORD is the acronym for that, by the way. They put another group of scientists together to come up with something to combat the cyborgs of the Metal Command. What comes to this group's research and development is a very special pair of hands. Also, be careful, these weird nemesis-looking guys, they have a lot of health, and when they die, they actually cause 3 projectiles to fly up in the air, and those will damage you if you're too close. The grenade bot, if you can get it, is a real good chance to avoid that just because you can take a real good shots from the distance. Alright, continuing on. These cybernetic attachments give the recipient the strength of a pile driver. They're capable of shattering metal on impact. There's only one problem. Without a willing recipient, these powerful hands cannot be used against the Metal Command. Meanwhile, in the Bronx, a young and highly decorated police officer named Steve Herman chases after one of the Metal Command cyborgs. The cyborg slows down, allowing Herman to catch up. Herman is puzzled by the apparent cooperation of the cyborg until he hears the crunch of metal on concrete behind him. He turns just in time to see a huge cyborg close in. Herman becomes a human sandwich between the two mighty cyborgs. They pull apart to determine if Herman is still alive, and despite crushed hands and ribs, Herman manages to run to freedom. Several days later, after both his completely crushed and mutilated hands have been amputated, a lowered official approaches Herman's hospital bed with a package under his arm. He identifies himself and opens the package, picks up the contents and displays them to Herman. A pair of cybernetic hands, the strongest hands in the world. Now more motivated against Metal Command than ever, Steve Herman accepts the cybernetic hands and the responsibility that goes with them. The cybernetic hands are attached, and Herman spends the next 2 months to be recovering from his injuries. When he emerges from the hospital, he will be known only as Shatterhand to protect his true identity. His mission? Crush the rebellion with his bare hands. And wow, that is just an action movie waiting to be happened. You're so close to RoboCop, it's ridiculous. Now, the coins, as I see the big one there are 2 variations of them. There are the small coins, which I believe are 50, and the big ones, I want to say, are 200 if my memory serves, but I honestly forget at the moment because I tend not to pay attention to my points unless I'm nearing a point where I need help, like right now. I'll take that, thank you. Now, one thing that the robots are also very useful for is, since they have their own health bars, they're very good for absorbing hits if you're in a dire situation. For instance, these guys, that when they explode, they obviously send the 3 projectiles up in the air, as I said. However, the robot can very easily intercept those depending on where you're standing. But now it's time for the boss of this stage. This is Cybergape. This fight is actually kind of annoying. It loves to zoom all over the place, but you can tell what it's going to attack with depending on what it's doing on the walls. If it's glowing like that, it's going to jump to the other side. If it's not, it's going to throw its few projectiles in the air, which are very easily destroyed with your own fist, by the way. So the strategy for this fight becomes to just kind of pick a side generally towards the right, hang on the fences, and position yourself in a way where he'll charge over to your side, but in such a way that you can easily jump out of danger as well while spamming the attack button in order to get as much damage done to it as possible. Not too hard, but out of the 3 bosses we fought so far, it probably has the steepest learning curve. Just because you have to really keep an eye out for what you're doing, and since I don't have a robot, I don't have an easy way to get quick damage in and destroy it really quickly. And even then, because it only has 1 form, obviously it has more HP to counteract that. You can tell whenever a boss is close to dying whenever they start flickering red a little bit, and I think the flicker gets stronger the lower on HP they are. Overall, probably the hardest boss we faced so far, but not too bad all the same. This is a really good position to be in overall. And the submarine, while it has its issues thanks to those weird nemesis-looking things and a really hard beginning, not a very bad stage. I'd say it's probably easier than Area B, but overall it still has its own issues. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we'll be heading into Area D and seeing how many more we can fit into next part. See you guys then.